What's good, everybody? It's John. I'll come back at you another video. So this video is going to be about information, and I want to explain to you guys why information is worth more than gold. Now, when I'm talking about gold, I'm referring to, well, it's more of a saying, right? Like, because of course back then you watch ancestors back then, people back then, and even like the pirate movies where they were always in search for gold, in search of the treasure, and at least in today's day and age, right, that quote unquote gold is like material wealth, it's money, it's finances. And I'm here to make the case and to prove to you guys why information is in fact worth more than gold, that is worth more than material wealth. Because what you need to remember and understand is, first and foremost, that information changes circumstances, and two, having access to the right information is what can effectively create as much gold or as much material wealth as you could ever want. I'm going to break it down piece by piece. So first and foremost, you have access to a mind. You have access to, with this mind, right, you have access to an imagination. With this imagination, you can create anything in your mind. This is why it is true to say that you can be, do, or have anything. Because with your mind, you've created everything about your life, right? With your mind, you've created yourself, you've created your personality, your attitude, how you operate, right? And with your mind, you can create the person that you want to become. You can create the things that you want to do. You can use your mind to create things in life and create all elements of your life, right? You have that gift. With your imagination, of course, you can create anything. And this is what makes you an abundant creature, an abundant person. See, people think that there's nothing special about them, that they're just an ordinary person. But what you need to remember is that you have access to an imagination. You have access to a power that has an unlimited, infinite supply of power and energy, because you never run out of ideas. You never run out of creativity, right? There's always, it doesn't ever run out. You can always get a new idea. You can always get, right? Like, it's infinite. And we all have access to that, which is why we are inherently abundant as creatures. But what you need to remember is this, right? It is the mind, it is the imagination that has created wealth in this world. Now, first and foremost, you need to remember that money itself, tangible money, did not exist back then. Many centuries ago, money was not a thing, right? Many centuries ago, like during the caveman times or whatever, right? It would be, that the currency system would be that someone had meat and then someone else had salt, and then these two people had to trade. And then eventually, over time, a currency system was developed because, society wanted a sort of like an easier way to exchange goods, rather than you having to exchange meat to get a massage, or you having to exchange salt for this other service, right? Having a standardized currency system made it a lot easier to pay for services and exchange goods, right? So there was a time where humans operated where there was no such thing as money. So that's the first component. The second component is that right now, in this present moment, if you were to look around at your surroundings, whether you're in a room, a living room, an office building, wherever you are, right? Everything that you see in your space or all around you, with the exception of nature, it was created in the mind of man. So right now, in this still shot of this video that I'm recording, right, you're seeing the chair behind me. This was created in someone's mind. The shirt that I'm wearing, this was created in someone's mind. The pillows on my bed, these bottles or the cans right here, created in the mind of man, right? AirPods, notebook, pen, water bottle, whatever, everything was created in the mind of man. Someone thought about this in their mind and was able to bring it to the surface. And because they were able to create these things, these objects, or these whatever it is, right, it allowed them to create wealth in their lives. Why? Because the humans that created these products were, of course, solving the problems that people faced or provided value to other people. And in exchange for that, they were able to be compensated in the form of payment. So when I say information is worth more than gold, It's because having access to the right information is what can allow you to create as much of this gold, or in other words, as much of this material wealth as you want. The information, the mind that you have, the imagination that you have, that is because you have infinite ideas, infinite creativity, right? That can create essentially unlimited wealth for you. And people fall into the trap of wanting to chase after the gold, wanting to chase after material wealth, not understanding that wealth follows value, right? That material wealth is the effect. The cause of material wealth, the cause of the creation of material wealth is providing value. And if you want to create more wealth for yourself, all that's required is that you provide more value, that you deliver more value to the marketplace, that you deliver more value to other people, because as you do that, it's not that wealth may follow or that wealth could follow, is that wealth will follow, because wealth is the effect of the value that gets created. And the saying that information changes circumstances, this is true, because when people have access to the right information, having access to the right information will allow them to think differently. It will change their perspective on life, which will allow them to think differently. And if someone is thinking differently, then they will begin operating differently. Most people do the same thing over and over and over and continue doing the same thing over and over and over because they're only going off of the information that's already in their head. So I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt that they do the best that they can. So if you're doing the best that you can and you're not getting the results that you want, then oftentimes it might be because you either have faulty beliefs or faulty information. You don't have access to the correct information that can propel you forward, right? Let me give you guys an example. You can pull up the numbers and do the research on your end, because, I have seen this quite some time ago and I know this to be true, right? There's statistics out there that shows that lottery winners, like people who play the lottery and win over $1 million, that it is most likely and most common for people who win the lottery over $1 million for them to end up in a worse financial position than they were prior to winning the lottery, right? And you're probably thinking that sounds backwards. Like, how can someone be in a worse spot after winning over $1 million? How can someone end up in a worse financial position than they were prior to winning the lottery? And the answer is simple. Because most of these people who are lacking financial literacy, they'll win the lottery, get paid $1 million or more, and then immediately they'll decide to spend it, right? They'll buy a house, they'll buy a car, they are probably going to treat themselves to all the things that they've always wanted. They're probably going to go celebrate and eat steak every night. And so they're spending all of their money that they've earned on liabilities and depreciating assets. So not only are they draining their winnings entirely to zero, but they've also made purchases on, home, maybe a car, whatever, that still need to be paid off, right? And that causes them to be in debt. So previously, prior to winning the lottery, for example, right? Like, this person could have just been broke and not had any money, but they probably weren't in debt. But after winning, they spent all their money and purchased liabilities and depreciating assets, and then they drained all their accounts, so they don't have any money, but now they're in debt because they owe money for the things that they purchased that they didn't pay in full. So you can see how even when someone is given gold or given money, that money doesn't necessarily solve their money problems, because they're still the same person. They didn't have access to the right information that was going to change their circumstances. So even if, a miracle were to happen and their circumstance were to immediately improve, because they didn't have access to the right information, they didn't operate correctly, and then they ended up being placed or end up being in a worse spot than they were at initially because of it, right? If someone were to have the financial literacy, right, and understand, the difference between liabilities and assets, and understand that, having that $1 million earnings, that you can use that money and invest it, or use that money to create more money, more wealth, right? Then clearly you see how this new person would operate completely differently, right? And a lot of times people may struggle financially because they're not tuned into wealth consciousness. And wealth consciousness is simply understanding that you are abundant, understanding that opportunities do exist everywhere, and being able to tap into that, right? It's a different type of energy that you can tap into. So title of this video is that information is worth more than gold. And that is true, because having access to the right information is what's going to allow you to see the world differently and to begin operating differently, right? As you can continue learning and growing, right, by reading books. And it was me reading through books is what allowed me to begin seeing the world completely differently. And I like to use a lot of real world examples. Like if I use an example such as Coca-Cola, right? This is one of the largest beverage companies in the world. Coca-Cola is $1 billion, not $1 trillion company, because they provide soft drinks, or of course soda, to the entire world, to the entire population. And Coca-Cola is not going anywhere anytime soon, because Coca-Cola is literally everywhere. It's like any restaurant you go, any grocery store you go, any supermarket you go, any movie theater you go, any corner you turn, even vending machines, right? It's almost like you're being offered Coca-Cola multiple times throughout the day, right? So they're effectively, as a company, right, they're making you an offer everywhere you go. Doesn't matter which country you travel to, doesn't matter, right? It's everywhere. And there's some countries that just love Coca-Cola. Like, for example, a country like Mexico, I've heard and read that like they probably drink more Coca-Cola than they do water in that country because of how popular it is. So a company like Coca-Cola is pretty much able to have an infinite pool of wealth because they're delivering value to the entire population, right? It's everywhere. You can get a Coca-Cola almost anytime, anywhere you go. They're providing value. So this is what, right? And most people are not aware of that. It's almost like it's inevitable for people to buy Coca-Cola because of how many times they're offered it throughout the day, because anywhere they go, they have the opportunity to buy it. So if you're a Coca-Cola lover and you go anywhere, you have the option to buy Coca-Cola. So you're likely going to drink it and always be drinking, right? So that is how they're able to create wealth and sustain wealth, because it's everywhere. See, most people just want to chase the gold or the shiny object or the money, thinking that that is what's going to change everything for them. It's like, it's less about that and more about the actual information, because you have access to the information, the correct information, then you can do things differently. When I came to the realization that wealth and money is nothing more, it represents nothing more than just value, than internal value, right? Because what you spend your money on is what you value. Then that's when I came to realization, like, okay, then life is simply all about a game of just providing value. And if you want to increase your own personal wealth, all you have to do is to continue providing value to other people, to continue delivering more value to the marketplace, continue to raise the wealth consciousness of everyone else, to continue providing happiness to other people, improving the quality of life to other people, or solving the problems of other people, and your wealth will steadily grow and increase. And then that's when I realized that it was all a game, right? And so this is what I mean, because now I have a better understanding of it all. That information to me is worth more than gold, because that understanding is what will allow me to create as much of the gold as I could ever want in this lifetime, because of the understanding, right? Because I have a much better understanding of, financial literacy and how it all works. It's like, if I were to be in the position of some of these other people and just win, $1 million or more in the lottery, it's like, I wouldn't take the same actions as these other people who would find themselves being in worse financial debt than previously, because I know that I wouldn't be operating with that logic, because that to me would be the incorrect information, right? It means having access to the incorrect information, and I don't have access to that, right? I have access to the correct information that will propel me forward. So this is what I mean is most people, they just focus on the goal and they spend their whole life chasing after the gold. And if majority of the people and majority of the population are just chasing after the gold, then they're going to be in the dark. They're going to be oblivious because they won't know how material wealth and finances truly work, and they won't understand the power that they have in their mind and their imagination, the power to create, and the power to create can never be taken away from you, right? So you have infinite creative gifts, infinite creative power, and you can use that power to create as much of that gold as you could want in this lifetime, right? It's almost like people believe that the gold that they're searching for is this external treasure chest that they have to travel the entire world to obtain, not knowing or understanding that the gold that they've been desperately searching for has been within them this entire time. Like, you are the gold. It's you using your mind, your imagination, and investing in yourself, reading books, right? Learning the proper information to help change the way you think. Previously, I was operating with the information that I was given and told from by other people. I was essentially operating, doing everything that other people were doing, essentially effectively following the crowd, right? That's how I was operating, just following the crowd, because I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what everyone else is doing. But then I realized, like, okay, as I continue learning books and reading and growing and improving, that's when I realized, and being exposed to different information, the new information, the correct information, that's when I realized that I was operating incorrectly, that I was only fixated on like doing things that benefited me, when now I'm doing things like, in this case, video, right? I'm doing things that are providing value to the world, that's delivering important information and helping other people, because now I understand and I'm fully aware that in this lifetime, of course, the goal for us being put here on earth is to experience outrageous joy, but you can experience joy by serving other people, and that should be the focus for you, to serve other people. And that previously I wasn't operating with that focus, but now I am, because now I understand that this is the appropriate way to be operating. So this is what I mean when I say information is worth more than gold. When you come across the right information, when you learn the right information, then you begin operating differently, and then you begin operating in alignment with the universe and how it's all designed, and in alignment with other people, right? You'll be doing things in the manner that you should have been doing things, right? And you'll be operating differently now than you would have been previously, or that you were previously, right? So information is worth more than gold, because having access to the right information can create as much of the gold as you could ever want, right? So because of that, there's no reason to mindlessly chase after the gold, because you understand that gold and material wealth and financial wealth is literally the effect, and the cause of it is value. The cause of it is providing value to other people, providing value to the world. And so if you focus on providing value, then material wealth and gold not maybe, it will follow, it will flow. So then you just have to focus on your craft and focus on doing it, what it is that you're doing, and being the best at it, because you understand that by law, by default, wealth will follow. So I don't ever really have to focus on the goal to begin with, because that's inevitable for it to make its way to you. And the gold itself is not the most important thing in the world, right? It doesn't buy you happiness, right? So the happiness that you do obtain and receive in life, it's about the person that you become. It's about the person that you grow into, the person that you can be proud of. That is what's going to make you happy, and that's what's going to truly be important to you. So I want this video to highlight to you guys that it's important to continue investing in yourself, because investing in yourself is the best investment that you can make, right? and you want to focus on obtaining and learning the right information, because you know you're learning the right information when you're beginning to change as a person, when you're beginning to do things differently, when you're beginning to operate differently, and when you're living life with a different mindset. In this case, right, I'm operating with the mindset of providing as much value as I can to other people, because I want to feel fulfilled, and to me it's much more fulfilling to help push other people forward, to help people grow, to help people bring out the best version of themselves, and to help people get better, right? And that's all because of the information that I learned, and having access to that information is what will create gold for me. So there's no reason for me to chase after the gold, right? So I want to also have this video help wake you up as well, to highlight to you that chasing after the gold is not the priority. It's not the goal, right? It's learning the information, because having access to the right information is what's going to truly change your set of circumstances, because you're going to be doing things differently and ultimately leading you to new results. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we're on the road to a million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.